much for joining me out here today in the cold weather and in the snow. First off, I want to say that this is not led by the administration, ADL, peer leaders, or any other school club. This is just a student initiative. Can you hear me now? No? Can you hear me now? Okay. So this is not run by any school clubs, it's just a student initiative. This is led by students for students who believe we need to do something to stop school shootings. With that in mind, I want to thank the administration for allowing the time for this event to happen. There have been 240 school shootings since Sandy Hook, one today in Maryland. 438 people have been shot and 138 lives have been lost. I would like to honor all of those who have passed away and have been affected in not only the Parkland shooting, but in all of the school shootings that have happened. This walkout is dedicated to you. We are hoping that this walkout will help spark change in our community, but will also show the world we are standing up to fight for our lives. We have a lot of great speakers here today, sharing their perspective on a variety of topics. To start off, it is my honor to introduce a state representative, Lori Erlich.
Thank you. Hey students, how are you today? Everybody good? This is your day, your event, and I am so, as a Swampscott High grad myself, SHS 81, I'm so proud to see all of you out here. It really warms my heart. And in addition to being proud, I want to thank you for not taking the future as a foregone conclusion. I also want to thank you for your willingness to step up and speak out. I also want to thank you for not accepting the defeatist language of generations before you. And lastly, I want to thank you for not being deterred by all of the snow that Mother Nature has sent us. You inspire me. You restore my hope that on the issue of gun violence, we are capable of change. Good for you and good for us. The Parkland shooting, and actually you've probably all heard that there's a shooting underway in Maryland right now, and the students who survived it and refused to be silenced have changed the national conversation around gun violence. From Florida to here in Massachusetts, we are suddenly having a productive conversation about common sense changes we can and must make to save our lives and begin to stop these senseless tragedies. And it's happening in a way we haven't seen in years. And it's because of you. Students are leading the conversation. Here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we are looking at several ways to improve upon our already best in the nation gun laws. One idea I just filed last week, actually on Friday, and it's already made national news. My idea, now a bill, or it's a docket right now, soon to be a bill, will divest Massachusetts' $72 billion pension fund from companies that make more than 15% of their revenues from selling arms or ammunition. It never made sense to me that we are using the state's public pension fund to invest in something that is tearing our communities apart. It's not only inconsistent, but it's counterproductive, not to mention dangerous. In addition, the legislature is also looking at legal remedies known as Extreme Risk Protective Orders, or ERPOs, you might hear, also known as red flag laws. Now, I've heard from many of you that you support this initiative, and I'm a co-sponsor of the bill, and will do all I can to see it through. I recently wrote an op-ed in the Boston Globe, you may have seen, about ERPOs, because I believe that they fill a gaping hole in our gun safety laws. As we have heard again and again since the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, people from across the Parkland community saw red flags and they raised them with authorities, but not enough to stop the shooting. The shooter was still able to purchase an AR-15 rifle and use it to take out 7 precious lives and shatter so many more. While Massachusetts has some of the strongest gun laws in the country and the lowest gun deaths per capita as well, there's still more we can do. Think about it. 50 states all taking action is just about equal to one fully functioning Congress. We will be circulating a sign-on letter about ERPOs and divestment today, hopefully, and I hope you consider signing it and expressing your support. Let me just close by speaking to the nature of change and civic action. I am humbled to be with you here today. The next generation of leaders and citizens of this wonderful community as you make yourselves heard. I urge you all to register to vote, but remember that civic engagement is more than what you do on that one day. It means organizing, and in numbers, your voices will be louder and clearer and more direct. It means calling your elected officials at all levels of government, from the State House to the White House. It means getting involved in campaigns you care about. It means sacrificing some comfort, a free Saturday or a free month of Saturdays, changing minds and making Swampscott and our world a better place. Student activism has a powerful legacy in American history. It was the backbone of the civil rights movement, the end of the war in Vietnam, and it's at the core of progress that we have made for LGBT rights and so much more. It makes perfect sense that students would be leading the march to end gun violence. Senator Crichton and I, as well as so many like-minded adults, are with you as we fight to end these tragedies. Thank you all for having me today. I am proud to be with you. Change is never easy and rarely comes quickly, but this is the beginning of something amazing. So stay warm and keep at it. And now I would like to welcome to the podium our brand new State Senator, Brendan Crichton.
Thank you, Representative. And thank you to the students and faculty of Swampscott High School for inviting me to today's student walkout for action. As we gather to shine light on the important issues of school safety, gun control, and advocacy, we are all sadly aware of the recent tragedies that have led us to this moment in time. While we mourn those lives lost and pray for their loved ones and the survivors of mass shootings, we cannot allow our nation to continue down this path of inaction. For many of you, the realities of lockdown drills and tragic headlines are all that you've known from your years in school. When I was growing up, that wasn't the case. As a nation, we need to understand all of the contributing factors that have led to this epidemic of gun violence. We need to make the safety of our schools a cause that unifies us and creates an open dialogue about how to prevent future tragedies. I applaud all of you and your peers around the nation who are standing up and making your voices heard here today. We are fortunate in Massachusetts to have some of the strongest gun control laws in the nation. Yet we are here today because you and I know that there's more to be done. We need to ensure the safety of all Americans. I sincerely commend you for being strong in the face of adversity and for standing up for what's right even when it isn't easy. I want to be clear that this is not an attack on the Second Amendment, but rather seeks to keep all Americans safe. Addressing the increasingly frequent instances of mass shootings is above all a public safety issue. People should not be afraid that their loved ones are going to be a victim of gun violence when they leave their homes to go to school, to work, or to a place of worship. While thoughts and prayers are important after horrific tragedies like those at Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High School, they cannot be the only action taken. More must be done in state legislatures and in Congress to make sure that future thoughts and prayers are not needed to mourn those lives lost to gun violence. I'm proud that Massachusetts continues to be a national leader on gun control. In 2014, the state passed one of the strongest gun control laws in the country, dealing with issues like school safety, mental health, background checks, and enhanced criminal penalties for gun crimes. After the Las Vegas shooting, Massachusetts quickly went to action and passed a law banning bump stocks. Recently, we have joined other New England states to share data about those who shouldn't have guns because of severe mental illness. These are all important steps, but that does not mean our work is over. There is always more we can do. Our state legislature is currently working on a number of bills, some of which Rep. Ehrlich had mentioned earlier. One would establish extreme risk protective orders that would block people from possessing a gun if they are deemed a danger to themselves or to others. Another bill would close the background check loophole for private gun sales and make sure that private sales happen at a licensed dealer. These bills can make our state safer while respecting the rights of gun owners and ensuring due process. On the federal level, I'm glad to see that Congress is finally getting to work on universal background checks and raising the age to buy assault weapons. However, until these pieces of legislation are passed and until these reforms are implemented, Congress's thoughts and prayers will ring hollow. We are lucky here on the North Shore to have Congressman Seth Moulton, United States Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Ed Markey, who continue to fight for sensible and reasonable gun reform at the federal level. You are all entering adulthood at a time when our nation is divided on many issues, including gun control. By the year 2020, your generation will make up nearly a quarter of the American population. There is strength in numbers, but only if we choose to use it. Your generation's actions across the nation over the past few weeks is a huge stride in the journey towards effecting real change. Please continue to stand up for what you believe in. Please make sure that you, your friends, your family, and neighbors vote, and that you vote for candidates that are going to have your back no matter what. Civic engagement only makes our nation stronger and our futures brighter. Thank you again for inviting me here today. Thank you for your inspiring actions, for your leadership, and for your courage.
Hello, my name is Anna, and I'm a senior here. I just wanted to address a couple issues, and I wanted to say thank you to everyone who participated today. We walk out today because we should not be scared to attend school. We walk out today because we don't want our generation to be known as the mass shooting generation. We walk out today because gun violence is a national epidemic. If Congress will not act, we students will. Day after day, including today, I see the headlines read X high school, and I automatically think, oh no, not another school shooting. I wanted to address the prevailing fact that each and every one of you deserves an education without the lurking fear of a school shooting. Parents should not feel they have to prepare their children for a battlefield each morning at 8 a.m., nor should one's right to owning an assault rifle outweigh our right to life. But at this point in time, we cannot give our hopes and prayers to wish away gun violence. We cannot make a change unless we students take our stand. Each and every one of you is courageous for joining us in solidarity today. While we can commemorate and memorialize those affected by gun violence, let's move forward with this acquired bravery and make a stand against current gun laws. What else can you do to help? You can start small. You don't have to go out and protest every day. You can start at a smaller level by making a stand against these current laws. You can start by donating to gun reform organizations, such as the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, or by volunteering with groups who are leading this fight. You are all very strong and can each help to protest the federal government's lack of action. Your action will make a difference, and you all have the ability to do so. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Margo, and I'm going to be reading a poem written by one of our members of our teaching staff. Protecting you would be easy if I only knew what to do. I could spread my wings when you were younger and completely wrap you in my blanket of fatherly security. As you grew up, my wings became smaller and smaller. Giant condor to gull wing, from chirping budgie to diminutive hummingbird. My objective, though, was always the same: to keep you out of harm's way. Yet you quickly outgrew what I could offer. I do still think about your small body encased in my arms, and how complete that felt, for both of us. Superman could stop a speeding bullet. He never needed a Kevlar vest, or any assistance for that matter. All I can do now is to hope, pray, plead that there will be wings enough to protect you when I'm not there. You have flown.
Good morning. I'm Tenley Seidel, a senior. On a cold day in January, I came in late to school. As our car pulled up to the entrance, the lights of a police car flashed, and I felt my stomach turn. I looked to my mom. "It's happened," I said. "I can't go in." I'd soon learn that the incident simply involved a sick student in need of emergency help. Yet my immediate and perverse thought was that a school shooting had taken place. Only a week later, my phone lit up with news of a Kentucky school shooting. And the worst part? I wasn't surprised. I was sickened, but not surprised. This should not be normal. We gather today to honor the victims of Parkland, as well as those of every other school shooting, not with our words, but with our actions. Today's walkout is a symbol of resistance and strength, but it cannot be the last thing we do. The most powerful tools our opposition can use against us are our own apathy and ignorance. We cannot become complacent. We live in Massachusetts, yes, a liberal hub, but that does not mean that we don't need to take action. For starters, get educated. Massachusetts gun law requires real-time background checks for private gun sales. The same cannot be said for federal law. Although all states require background checks for gun purchased at gun shops, federal law does not require background checks for private purchase. What does this mean? Only 12 states require background checks at gun shows for all gun types, 18 states for handguns. But shouldn't it be all 50 states for both? Why are our laws contradictory? Why did our Congress decide background checks were necessary to purchase a gun, just not at gun shows? Additionally, Massachusetts has banned bump stocks, which allow semi-automatic rifles to simulate automatic fire, and is what allowed for such incredible carnage at the Las Vegas massacre. Yet federal law does not follow suit. Despite a federal ban on fully automatic guns, and the fact bump stocks allow weapons to fire close to the rate of machine guns, federal law does not ban bump stocks. As Senator Crichton said, Massachusetts has pledged to join an interstate gun safety coalition, which would involve a sharing of information between states on people who have been disqualified from owning a gun. The Massachusetts Criminal History Board keeps a registry of all licensing information and is utilized in mandatory background checks. Local police departments grant and may revoke gun licenses. Federally, the case is far different. Actually, it is illegal for the national government to keep a database which ties firearms directly to their gun owners. Background check records must be destroyed within 24 hours. How is this safety? Now, the vast majority of Americans support more gun safety. Quinnipiac's February of 2018 poll revealed 97% of Americans support universal background checks, 83% a mandatory waiting period for all gun purchases. So why, if so many Americans support these measures, are they not the case? Well, for starters, more than half of congressional incumbents have received money from the NRA, or National Rifle Association. 8 have received over $1 million in the course of their careers. America is a democracy, and we control our country's future. We vote candidates into office, and they are our civil servants meant to serve us, not themselves and not special interest groups. Register to vote today. If you're 16 or 17, you can pre-register now. Vote not just in the presidential elections, in all elections, local, state, and federal. Senators and House representatives control our bills and our lives, and when we don't pay attention, we are allowing private groups to win. Defend with passion, not just anger. Know your topic and know your stances and why you stand for them. Don't argue, have a conversation. The forces against us are counting on our short attention spans surrounding the issue of gun safety. We have to prove them wrong. We have to take responsibility for our country. We have to be educated. We have to vote. Because we are the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dave Quill, and I'm a senior here at Swampscott, and I'm going to have to follow that. We're all very lucky to live here in Massachusetts, a state that leads the nation in gun safety. However, our work is never done. We always can do more to protect and improve our community, whether it be on a national level by contacting our representatives in Washington, be it on a state level by taking part in movements like this, or voting for politicians whose values we truly believe in. Whether it be on a personal level, by being aware on social media or in school for suspicious behaviors. We can make a difference. I encourage you all to pay attention to current events and watch the news daily, and find an issue you are passionate about. Find a problem that you want to solve, and use all of your resources to come up with a solution. For example, I stumbled upon an article about an 80% lower receiver bill currently being debated in California. This loophole allows for individuals to essentially build an AR-15 from scratch in their own home. In Massachusetts, this process is illegal thanks to our assault weapon ban. However, the sale of these parts necessary to make these guns is still allowed in Massachusetts. I believe that we need to change this, and we need to ban the sale of these parts. Doing so would do nothing to harm responsible gun owners, and only would harm those with malicious intent. I plan to do everything in my power to change this, and I encourage all of you to get out there and find an issue that you want to change, get involved, and get it done. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Brian Strothman. I am also a senior. So this school, like a lot of other schools, used to teach civics. It used to be a requirement. But it stopped being a requirement a long time ago, and pretty soon after it stopped being in favor by schools. Oh, pushing to the mic. Sorry. Yeah. So this has kind of led to a rise in young people who just don't know how their government works. So a lot of people, myself included, think we should bring the class back. That being said, it's 2018. You don't need a class to know how the government works. We have the internet, the most powerful tool for research in history, the most powerful tool to share your voice in history. And we do share our voice as students. We say, I'm tired of being told that I'm too young to be listened to. In about a month, I'll turn 18. A lot of people here are already 18. And as a man, when you turn 18, you sign a paper that says, I am willing to be drafted by the United States military. The United States government has said that we are old enough to be forced into a war. We are mature enough to go and fight for our country, to kill and be killed. But some of the same people in the government are saying that we are not old enough, we are not mature enough to share our voices and to be listened to and taken seriously. I'm tired of it, and I know you are too. I'm tired of listening to people who haven't been to school, who haven't gone to a place of education every single day, talk about what students need when they haven't been there in half a century. I'm tired of being told that I do not know what is best for me, what is best for my friends, for my people. To combat this, we need to be active citizens. We need to vote, but we need to do more than vote. We need to know who our representatives are. We need to know who we're voting for and who is voting for us. We need to contact them, let them know how we feel on the issues, let them know how we, their constituents, think they should vote. And in the end, if your representatives aren't listening to you, if you don't think that, if you don't like them, you need to run. You need to run for office, even if it's just town meeting. We need to get into government to change things ourselves directly. In the end, it's our choice. We are poised to become the most influential generation in American history. But we need to pay attention. We need to make our voices heard. And maybe most basically, but maybe most importantly, we need to care. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Olivia Barton. I'm a senior and I'll be reading an original piece. It's time to own up and rise up. We are every part of America, the darkness and the light alike. We don't just create the martyrs, we create the tortured souls. Teachers aren't paid enough to jump in front of bullets. We can't sell AR-15s and pretend like people are out shooting deer with 15 rounds per second. I can build a barricade out of desks, learning to cower in a corner. But how are at-risk students coping with psychological trauma? Do they cower in the confines of their own minds? It's time to prioritize prevention as well. We can't lock up safety scissors and pretend like there aren't fiercer blades and deeper scars that can't be fixed with Band-Aids. It's time to own up to our transgressions, the silence of the masses. Is my life worth less than a rifle? Guns do kill people. People do kill people. In 1996, our very own Congress passed the Dickey Amendment, quashing research into gun violence. Since then, there have been over 600,000 gunshot victims in America. Our America. Don't tell me there was no way to prevent this. I'm calling BS. It's time to rise up and admit we must do better. Beyond Alice training, in itself a bare minimum most students don't receive, down the rabbit hole, where schools are nothing more than soft targets. In the US of A, the local Walmart certainly has an ammunition section because the NRA wants you to have a shotgun, as well as brownie mix, glue sticks, and canned corn. When will we love our children as much as we love our weapons? Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland terrorist, exited the school with his peers, hands above his head. He went to a Walmart and a McDonald's, and maybe just for a moment he felt like he mattered. How familiar. At the mercy of government systems, abused, bullied, and ignored, Nicholas Cruz was another victim. As much as the faces we hang on banners, Nicholas Cruz asked for help and we ignored him. It's time to own up to our failings. The system that we created failed Cruz as much as it failed Parkland, Sandy Hook, Columbine, and Maryland. How can we claim to support them if we don't learn from their mistakes? Silence is no longer an option. We can, we will, and we must do better. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Harry, and I'm not quite a senior, but I'm getting there. I want to take a moment to talk about some words we've heard thrown about in the conversation over student protests and walkouts in the past month. Arrogant, self-centered, and naive. As we've seen, there's been a good deal of coverage of student protests, but much of it's been negative. Except these claims, they aren't accurate. Arrogance is a belief that you're more important than you might actually be, yet looking out at all of you, at our school and on television where so many of this nation's schools have walked out, it's clear that these protests are not a sign of arrogance. They're a sign that we, as students, as the next generation of voters, as 15 million high schoolers, it's a sign that there is nothing arrogant about finally viewing ourselves as important, as deserving of a proper voice. Was it not student protests that spelled an end to the Vietnam War? And more recently, was it not the Women's March, largely composed of people our age, that sent a global symbol that America's youngest would not sit by and watch as sexism endlessly perpetuated and was institutionally perpetrated?
It is not arrogant to believe in the right to protest and freedom of speech and the right to assembly. If we are arrogant, if this movement is arrogant, then it's only because we learned it from the very first clause of our country's Constitution. Are we self-centered? Sure. When young people die while trying to obtain an education, it is impossible to not worry about whether what Parkland, Newtown, Huntsville, Houston, Orlando, Cambridge, and an innumerable amount of other American cities could happen here. Self-centered? Maybe. But self-preservation is a far more accurate term. That brings us to naive, which is the only one of these three descriptors that I wholeheartedly agree with. I'm not experienced or familiar with passing legislation or lobbying for a cause. I'm not familiar with the dominant political climate. I'm not all that knowledgeable about every single last group of lobbyists who are out to keep our voices from being heard. Most of all, though, I'm not used to giving up.
To backing down, or to being shouted into submission. And I don't plan to get used to any of it, and neither should any of you. I'm foolhardy enough to believe that here, in a small town, in a small state, we can start something powerful. I'm foolish enough to trust in the determination of all of us to stand for something bigger than ourselves. I am naive. I am naive enough to believe that we can, in fact, solve our country's firearm crisis. And you know why? Because it's the first lesson we learned in school. If you're going to make others believe in your cause, believe in it yourself. And I do. I believe in the American spirit. Because while students were running out of Stoneman Douglas High School, first responders were rushing in. And that right there is why I mourn. But I don't despair. Any fool can destroy. But to see these police officers, paramedics, people off the street running towards a tragedy to get students out, I know we're going to win. Because when these guys heard gunfire, they ran towards it. Ran towards the gunfire. 17 people died in the Parkland shooting a few weeks back. One teacher was killed barricading his door to keep students safe. Another was killed running towards the sound of gunfire. Running towards the gunfire. They were students and parents and teachers and friends. And the loss of their lives is monumental and can seem overwhelming. But every time we think we've reached the peak of our ability to challenge and cope, we must turn our gaze skyward and be reminded that that ability is truly limitless. Now is the time to embrace the promise of citizenship, to undertake what is difficult, and to bring about what is great. Now is the time to be an activist. Now is the time to deny apathy. Now is the time to say loudly and proudly, with one united voice, enough is enough. Thank you.
So we have 17 flower pots up here, and they have flowers planted in them, and they're dedicated to the 17 victims who died at the Parkland shooting. They're going to be on display in the atrium from now on. We're going to read off the 17 victims' names, and then we're going to have a moment of silence. Alyssa Aladef. Scott Beagle.
Martin Duke Anuguano.
Nicholas Dwaret.
Aaron Fay. Jamie Gutenberg.
Chris Hickson.
Luke Hoyer.
Kara Lauren. Gina Montalado.
Joaquin Oliver.
Elena Petty.
Meadow Pollock. Helena Ramsey.
Alex Schrader.
Carmen Shentra.
Peter Wang. Now for a moment of silence.
All right, so I just want to say a few quick thank yous. First of all, thank you so much to all of you for coming out. I know it's cold, I know it's snowy. I wish we could have had perfect weather, but we just didn't. Thank you so much to the TV studio for filming all of this. Thank you so much to Senator Brendan Crichton and Representative Lori Ehrlich for coming out and helping and supporting us. Thank you to the administration for giving us this assembly day and giving us this time. And thank you to all of the teachers who have supported us and said that our voices are important. Thank you.
I saw a lot of great signs, so whoever made a sign and wants to take a photo up here with all of us and the representatives, please come up and we're going to get some photos. Everyone else can head back up to the school.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.